Hello, everyone. Today I am going to be reading The Rules book, written by Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider. Rule number 20: Be honest but mysterious. Men love mystery. 50 years ago, it was easier to be mysterious with men. Women lived at home, and their mothers answered the phone and never told the men who else caught their daughters. Dates didn't see women's bedrooms so soon. Today, men pick up women at their apartments, see their lingerie in the bathroom, their romance novels in the living room, and hear their phone messages. While such openness is good for marriage, it's important to project a certain amount of mystery during the dating period. We're all looking for someone to share our lives, thoughts, and feelings with. But as we suggested in the rule number 19, wait until he says he loves you to share your innermost secrets. When he's in your apartment, don't listen to your answering machine. Let him wonder who called you besides him. You might know that the messages are probably from girlfriends feeling suicidal about their dating situations, but he doesn't. If your date is at your place and one of your friends calls and asks how everything is going, don't say, Scott's over, I can't talk. That means you've been talking about Scott to your friend and he's somehow important. Even if that's the case, Scott should not know that he is the subject of your thoughts and conversations, or he might think he doesn't have to work so hard to get you. Simply say, I can't talk right now, I'll call you later. After you hang up, don't tell him who called you or why. Before he comes to your apartment, tuck this book away in your top drawer or make sure any self help books out of sight. Have interesting or popular novels or nonfiction books in full view. Hide in the closet any cringy bathrobes of something you don't want him to see, such as a bottle of Prozac. In general, don't give away any information that is not absolutely necessary. If you're busy on the night he asks you for a date, don't tell him that you're planning to do what you're planning to do. Just say you're busy. If he asks you out for the weekend, don't say, I'm visiting my brother this weekend. His wife just had a baby. Simply say, I'm sorry, but I already have plans. Less is more. Let him wonder what you are doing. You don't have to be an open book. This is good for him, and this is good for you. It keeps intrigue going. You don't want to make dating you so easy and predictable that he loses interest in you. Always remember that in time you will be able to tell him just about anything. On the other hand, rules girls don't lie either. Don't tell a Mel Gibson type guy that you love hiking and shop at LL Bean all the time when you can't stand trees, insects, and backpacks. And certainly don't tell your boyfriend that you love and want children because he does when you really don't. Take our advice. Don't lie. It's a law of the universe. Well, that was the chapter about being honest and mysterious in the same time. So, let me comment on that. I've been a rules girl for over 6 years now. I even became a coach and really read those books, I don't know, dozens, hundreds of times. And I practiced all of everything that the book suggested. And I really, really, really adore it. And this is one of, I mean, every rule from the book is my favorite. Probably that's what I usually say. But right now, this one is actually very, very nice because this particular rule sets extremely strong boundaries with men, especially with men. Because when a guy likes you, he naturally is drawn to you. He wants to know everything about you. Curious, he's interested in you. That is, of course, flattering. You want to give this to me if you like him back. But as you know, with men, it's always better to work a little bit with the reverse psychology. Yes, he will ask you a lot of questions. He will want to know everything that you're doing. But in the same time, as soon as you tell him everything, he will somehow lose interest. And over the course of my life, I have experienced so many times, even before I did the rules, I remember so many situations in my dating life before that. What I, that's exactly what I was not doing. I was not really a mystery to man that I was dating. For example, one of my last relationships before I started doing the rules, I was in a relationship with a guy who was extremely affectionate and extremely interested in me right from the start. And I remember we were texting nonstop towards each other. He wanted to know everything that I was doing throughout the day. And I remember I was so flattered. I really thought, wow, this guy is so interested. And I was a little bit afraid to lose him. So what I did, I just gave him what he wanted. He wanted to know everything that I was doing throughout the day, and I did tell him everything. And eventually, we were dating for a while. I think even 4 years or something. But I noticed that over time, he really was losing interest more and more. And the only times I remember, also at the beginning of the relationship, because we were long distance, um, the only times where he was going absolutely nuts and crazy for me was when I was having no connection, no phone reception, or no internet, or where I was very, very, very busy because I was at work. I couldn't pick up the phone. This is where I noticed the spike of enormous spike of his interest. And it was all before the rules. Of course, I didn't know why these things were happening, but this is really what works. And so another thing, what might happen. So after starting doing the rules, and I started implementing this particular rule into my life, into specifically my dating life. By the way, you can also implement those rules anywhere. But of course, you don't have to go all the way 100% with your friends or your coworkers, people who are not your romantic interest. However, with men, really, you have to be extremely careful and really do the rules as good as you can. As you can do 100%, do the 100%. At least you have to try. So, where I was going to. So yeah, okay. So I started doing the rules and I started implementing this particular rule into my dating life with men, and I have noticed all kinds of reactions. So this information right now is for new rules girls who are still confused how this whole thing works and why this works, or rules girls who are maybe a little bit more into it, but then they feel like it doesn't work, and then they start questioning why it doesn't work because men don't react well to this rule. I mean, this book promises me that the guy will fall for me and love me immediately and will be crazy in love with me, but it doesn't work. So the rules book doesn't necessarily work on men who are not quite interested in you. Those men are going to be weeded out. So how does the guy react to this particular rule is extremely important because you will observe his reaction very, very carefully. So a guy who is not good with boundaries, a guy who uh, displays a lot of anger towards this rule is extreme a case of buyer beware. This is a guy who will not respect you. I guarantee you, when a guy is angry at you for you not telling him what you're doing at the moment or where you're going in the beginning of your relationship, we're talking about the first, I don't know, half a year up to a year before he proposes, or at least before he says he loves you, he really wants to spend, the rest of your lives with you. I mean, there's something serious. You really know that he's serious about. Before all of this, you're dating a guy, you're seeing him once a week, and then let's say he calls you up on Thursday for Saturday night, which is too late. So you have to decline his date. You know, you have to decline the offer for seeing him, and then he will ask, well, let's meet up on Saturday. And you say, because you know you have to decline, you say, well, I would like to, but I already made other plans. And you're not telling him what kind of plans you're making. He might be angry at you. So the thing is, any guy will probably be a little bit angry, but he will try not to show it to you too much, or he will not curse at you. He will not be too jealous. He might, be a little bit angry, but you will feel no extreme anger at you. So that's a good guy. He will respect that you already have other plans because you have your own life. He is just a guy you're dating. He should not be the whole life for you at that moment because he's not your husband. You don't owe him anything, and no information as well. Because if you're not engaged to this particular guy, you don't owe him anything. Basically, this is how you have to implement this. So when he reacts very, very angry, he's cursing at you, or he's somehow trying to get back at you with this, or disappears for a few weeks, you feel like, oh my god, I've done such a mistake. Oh my god, like this is backfiring. The rules are backfiring. So when you think that the rules are backfiring, you're dealing with the wrong guy, because the rules will not backfire on a good guy who's actually liking you a lot or loving you, who is a nice guy, who is probably serious about you. This is not the guy who's gonna back up and curse at you for implementing this particular rule, being mysterious, right? Just be careful with guys, because this you will experience this a lot. This is going out to new rules girls who don't know this. You need to be careful with guys who are very angry at you for implementing this rule. Those are buyer beware dudes. Okay, so what about this whole thing with being honest, right? So there are certain informations he will probably want to know about you, um, that you might not feel great about sharing yet. You don't have to. So that's my advice as a rules coach and absolute big fan of the rules. Is if you don't want to talk about certain things with him because you don't trust him or you don't know him well enough, you don't have to. You can change the subject, but you do not lie to him. You do not imagine new things or try to convince him of something that's not true. That's not what the rules girl does, because if you share false informations with him, it will backfire also. I have figured when you lie a lot, you also attract a certain type of guys with this. It might work for a little bit, but it will eventually come to the surface and it will cause problems. um yeah, like the book suggests, I think there was something written in it. uh yeah, like for example, if you're not planning to have kids, and if he asks you, oh, whether you consider this, let's say this, if you're at the stage where you already talk about these things, and he asks you that he's looking to have, a family, children, but that's not what you're planning, do not lie to him. Like, you don't do this. And yeah, i think I think that's all for now. If you have any questions or interesting comments, please do share below this video.